Thanks, Jake, for that interesting introduction. Hopefully I can live up to expectation. We'll see. No more metaphors from me. So thank you, and I'm delighted to be here. So we will canter through at pace. I've been given sort of 20 minutes, and I guess after 15 minutes, then it strikes orange, and then after 20 minutes, I'm off the stage to be cooked and fried, whatever, just to continue that metaphor. So for those that don't know Hub Financial Solutions, we provide advice and guidance to those people approaching retirement or just starting to think about retirement, typically through arrangements with employers and pension schemes and product providers. So today we'll cover some of the demographic trends at work. Hopefully we won't be going over ground you might have already covered today too much. And the rise in flexible retirement and older workers returning to the workplace. I'll come on to that. How better to engage and retain older workers too. An employer brand reputation, risks, and a snapshot of the market innovation, which we're seeing in this space and which we think we're leading the way on. So, twin challenges for employers: retention and recruitment of older workers. Many challenges for employers at the moment, obviously. One is retention and recruitment of older workers. Over 50s, as they do, making up to a third of the UK workforce. That's a big number. But ONS data from February 2022 revealed that 77% of adults aged 50 to 59 have left their jobs sooner than they had expected. So in a tight labour market, this is challenging. I'm sure this is challenging you and many others. And it's interesting, just picking up on some of the press comment. I'm sure some of you will have read the story today about Halfords, a drive to recruit older workers back into the workplace. We've had some conversation on the stand about kind of similar measures there. And Saga's chief people officer said in a piece at the Times on the weekend, the return of experienced workers brings multiple benefits to businesses. However, the needs of these older workers must be met. But employers will only retain or hire new experienced colleagues if they create age-positive cultures. And this includes a focus on well-being, flexibility, and work-life balance. And if I was speaking about it, add a particular focus on retirement as well. So we'd suggest a new approach is needed, focusing on the specific needs of this employee cohort to retain and attract. Now, who remembers this person? So this was more than a few chancellors ago now, probably sort of 5 or 6, and every potential for more turnover sort of soon. So George Osborne, 2014, introduced pensions freedom and choice, and this is that's what he said, there. And it's had some huge ramifications. I've been in pensions for a little while now, and I started life, back in the early 90s, whenever it was. I was expected to work 40 years divided by 60 times my final salary. That was it. I didn't need to make any decisions there. All change, courtesy of not just George, a few other things apart from that. But essentially, the last 6 or 7 years has meant a lot of changes, and we are at peak DB now, and so defined benefit schemes are declining. So we are very peak now, so they're going away, and DC is coming up quite fast on the rails. So this is what some research says. So 68% of people say uncertainty around pension decision making is their biggest retirement concern. So if you flashback 15, 20 years or so ago, maybe less so. This is their biggest retirement concern now. And I'll put a slide. Hopefully you can see at least kind of some of the questions on there. But these are some of the questions in our kind of day-to-day work with employers and schemes. I'm sure you see sort of similar questions from your colleagues. These give some idea of the questions people are asking, and these are hard questions. They're easy questions, but they're really difficult answers, and that's hopefully what I'm going to kind of give you a sense of just a little bit later, about some of the new solutions in the market, which try to address some of these needs. So just to expand just a little bit, so pensions freedoms were introduced, so employees have far more choice about what to do with their pension pot when they retire, and this carries risk. The risk that they may poor decisions or become vulnerable to scams. Again, your press comment today, 70,000 people have just been written to by by the authorities about some kind of banking scam. So again, we see it all the time. People are fall victims of scams, and there are risks for employers in that. So what you probably sort of don't want to do is for employees to come back to you some years in the future. Why didn't you point me in the direction? Why didn't you provide more guidance? Why didn't you provide more support? So there are some more growing risks, I think, for employers there. So the decisions people have to make at retirement never been more complicated, as I say, with DC overtaking final salary schemes. And they're becoming more material as well. As in the fullness of time, as DC contributions grow, there may be small pots now, but roll forward 5 or 10 years, and those decisions which people have to take about their maybe £100,000 pot as opposed to their £20,000 pot now, right, these are big decisions, these are material. This is going to get even more serious than it is now. So one of the key issues is that access to independent financial advice is getting increasingly difficult for people, certainly with those lower pot sizes. It's okay if you're high net worth or approaching the lifetime allowance issues, you can afford to go to an independent financial advisor. But the supply is decreasing of IFAs, and they, with the traditional model, you might not be able to see them anyway if you don't have a pot size of above a certain amount. Whether that's £100,000, whether that's £200,000. So that squeezes a lot of people. So it can be overwhelming, I guess. And again, it would be interesting if we have time for questions, just to explore some of that kind of experience there. So it can be overwhelming, yes. And I guess what I'd also say, when people do feel a bit more in control, of their retirement plans, they're on the right track, then they're more confident in their future, and that obviously brings benefit to the workplace. So, how digital-first financial wellness solutions can help, and this is all about the future, all about this, the future form. So hopefully I'll paint a picture of where the market is going. So older workers, I guess, worry that they haven't saved enough and might never be able to retire. They want to know how much to live comfortably in retirement, when they might reach that target, and the action they can take if there's a shortfall. Then, when they're ready to retire, they want to understand how to turn their pension savings into an income for life. And when I say pension savings, it's not just DC, it might be ISAs, it might be investments, it might be equity in the house. So they might have a number of different assets. So how do I've accumulated all this, how do I convert that into my retirement income? As I say, it's a far cry when I started life and when it's much more straightforward. So our financial wellness program is targeted at people about 10 or 15 years out from retirement and focusing on preparing them for their life after work. So we adopt a specialist approach by really focusing on that niche. And often our service is introduced along with a retirement policy. Again, speaking to a number of employers now, some have introduced a retirement policy, and we've helped them introduce a retirement policy. Others yet to do so. But trying to bring retirement more out into the open, if you like, and get people sort of talking about your retirement, which obviously helps employers in terms of succession planning issues and the transfer of knowledge. So, focusing a bit more time on this, and absolutely recognise you've got many different cohorts with many different needs, and you have to focus on resources which might deliver best reward to you. What I'd say is the benefits for employees to start with are significant. For example, as part of the process, they can be provided with tools and have the opportunity to assess when to retire and whether phased retirement is an option as well. Again, that's being talked about. I'm sure it's been talked about today a lot. And equally, if they are returning to work, maybe using the health as example or the EasyJet example, trying to attract new people back into the workforce, the tools and technology is becoming available now, so they can actually kind of model that. What happens if I return to work, but I might be on the verge of taking my benefits, or I might be taking some of my sort of pension benefits as well as taking an income as well. What does that look like? What's the best way of delivering my income each month? So technology can give ways of looking at retirement prospects by fusing, let's say, kind of what they want to do in retirement versus the resources they have. Painting a picture. How else would you get that otherwise? you can hazard a guess, but that's really, really difficult. As I say, what do you want to do in retirement? How long are you going to live? Versus the assets you have to support that. So that's why in our wellness program we introduced Pension Buddy. So that provides information and guidance for people who might be, as I say, some years from retirement and have started to make their plans to become financially fit for their life after work. And secondly, the second part of that is destination retirement. So that's an automated advice service. So that provides fully regulated financial advice, so under FCA auspices, to people who are about to retire or phase their benefits or take their benefits. So fully regulated financial advice. And you both are available to employers completely free of charge to set up and implement. Just a very quick poll here. We were going to do this online, but this is a live audience, so let's do it kind of old school. So if I'm 40 and I want to retire with my spouse, with my partner at 66, and assuming the PLSA retirement living standards, some of you may have come across that before, the amount needed to give a comfortable retirement is round about £55,000 income coming in per year, including maximum state pensions, so including maximum state pension of £20,000. So if I'm a 40-year-old, and if I'm a 66-year-old, so to deliver that amount of income per year, to give a 95% confidence level that I won't and my spouse won't run out of money, how much, what kind of DC pot do you think I would have? Would it be 300,000? Would it be 600,000? Would it be 900,000, or would it be 1.2 million? 1.2? Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So you'd need 1.2 million, and so as I say, these are big numbers. These are scary numbers. Few people are going to reach there. You're potentially ahead. As I say, with the decline in DB and with the growth in DC, so they will have to look at other forms of savings, equity in the house, ISAs, and all the rest of it. But if I was also, but the flip side of that, if I was told that at age 40, right, I'm going to need that pot size, then that gives me a chance of doing something about it. I might not get there, but at least I can get a little bit closer. So that's partly why we've introduced the kind of Pension Buddy, very, very straightforward, stripping out the language. So for people sort of jumping on who are some years away from retirement, they can start thinking about this. They become a bit more educated in what some of the kind of pensions terms and retirement terms mean, and they can easily sort of jump on and go on to our retirement health checker. And so I mentioned the PLSA retirement living standards before. This example is a single person, and so for a comfortable retirement, they would need £33,000 a year, according to the PLSA guidelines. If you can't get there, if you can get to a minimum, at the moment, the state pension, because it will be uprated a little bit, that will probably sort of cover the minimum. But the comfortable retirement is £33,000 a year. So again, hopefully you'll be able to see that at the back. So that's my target income, 33,000. At the moment, and this is an example, kind of 40-year-old here again, there's a shortfall of 13,000, based on the retirement track I'm on, based on the contributions which I'm putting in, based on my nominated retirement date. So simple tools, here, although there's a fair amount of stuff sitting behind it. So then you can see, right, what would happen if I was able to increase my contributions, say to 20% in this case, or change my retirement age, things like that. So again, so you can see at a glance, and again, it gives people a chance, right? I can do something about it. I'm now a bit more kind of clued up about some of the issues which I'm going to face, unless I do act. So I won't spend too much on this side, but just some other key issues at retirement. That people are drawing their benefits, they're putting it in cash, and so this time. Right now, it might be worth £10,000. Next year, effectively, if you put it in cash, it'd be worth £9,000. So some poor decision making there. potentially when it could be put to better use. But because they don't have anywhere to go to, or they have few places to go to, you to provide the guidance and increasingly advice which they're going to need. So the other part of our own service is destination retirement. And so this is designed for people who are taking their benefits, so and whether it's a cliff edge retirement, or whether they want to phase their retirement, or as I say, you're trying to kind of merge income coming in from their employment with taking benefits as well. So this probably 5 or 6 years in the making, on the back of the issues presented by freedom of choice. And this automated service is actually a hybrid service because it's part automation, part digital, but also access to human support and access to advisors as well through the process. But we're trying to bring the benefits of regulated financial advice to the mass market, so people which just wouldn't be able to access it or afford it with a traditional model. And digital, again, this is called Future Forum. Digital enables people to do that. So when somebody is ready to take their benefits, they essentially plug in, have a think about their ideal plan in retirement, what they want to do, what they need to spend their money on, for example, their priorities, but also their wants as well. What do I really want to do if I had their money? So on that side of the plan, but then also what assets do I have to support this as well? I can do it individually or with my spouse or partner as well. So they go through that, again, completely free of charge, and end up with a recommendation, a report. So if nothing else, it paints a picture of what's possible in their retirement. If they then want to go and buy through us, as we hope they do, we then put that plan into action. So that's a very, very sort of quick sort of canter through. So summary of some key benefits there I put mainly for employers. So hopefully I've covered the reasons why you should start focusing arguably sort of more effort and resource on older workers and some of the issues they face, and also some of the key benefits for employers as well. And hopefully I've managed to highlight some of the risks. Again, I can absolutely sort of see the situation in a few years' time when people leave the workforce and even more open to scams as they are now, or poor decision making, and there might be some comeback on the employer. I'm going to stop there. So hopefully that was tasty. Hopefully there'll be some tasty questions. Yeah.